Jules Chambers, thank you for joining me today on this first day of summer. Happy summer. And
Thank
it's a
you.
beautiful day in Iceland. It works. And they forced me to roll up my sleeves so it looks better. So this is good. Now, I'm so glad you're here. You've had a very interesting pathway to get to Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'd like to do is kind of start with how you got here, because you started out in Manhattan, right? Or
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
sorry.
Okay.
And well, I got to be careful because people who live in Brooklyn
It's the best borough, that's all I'll say.
don't want to be mixed up with
Yeah.
other ones, because that would make
Kids
a
are the cool
difference.
kids, that's why.
Yeah. So how did you get from Brooklyn to Iceland? We'll start there. And then from there, you started in working for other people and stuff, and how you moved into what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
on this lovely summer day. Gleðilegt sumar.
Yeah.
Happy summer. And yes, it's April, by the way. And so people who are watching, Iceland's a little strange that way. I grew up in Brooklyn, born and raised, and I ended up going off to college. And I met an Icelander in college. I think the only Icelander when I was studying biomedical engineering. That's what I have a degree in. And he had some friends coming over from Iceland visiting him, and he had a party. I came to the party. I didn't know at the time, I was like 19, that I was meeting my future husband. And Facebook had started around this time as well. So this is sort of the short story of it.
Yeah.
And when Facebook became open to everybody, me and who became my husband later on, we connected, stayed in touch many years later, because he had ended up moving from Iceland to the United States to study in Indiana.
Okay.
Of all places. I moved back to New York City at some point. And then we became a couple, I believe in 2013, I want to say.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember now, it's been such a while. After that, I already knew that he was planning to move back to Iceland after living in the US just for his studies. And I was down for it. I was ready for a change. As much as I love New York City, I was getting tired of how many people there were. It was, my neighborhood had changed a lot in a way that was like not bad, but just not great.
You.
Yeah, It was just different. And coming to Iceland, I visited around 5 times.
Ooh,
visiting his family, just, exploring a little bit of the country. And I felt like I could do it. Even though the weather is crazy, I was like, it's an adventure. Let's just see what happens. So in 2016, I moved. One of the stipulations that I had, though, before I moved, because I've been working in digital marketing, was that I wanted to secure a job in digital marketing, so furthering my career in Iceland. Luckily for me, there had been a tourism boom, and a lot of people in Iceland did not have training in digital marketing, so this was a need. So in the tourism industry, I ended up getting a job as a content marketing manager for a big Icelandic travel company, which then sparked my interest in the country, because everybody there was like super into like mountaineering, hiking, biking, even in the winter. And I was like, these people are nuts. Who does this? I'm coming from the concrete jungle out to like, the mountains of Iceland and glaciers and things. But I loved it. And slowly but surely, I found myself just diving into going ice climbing, going into the highlands on 9-day treks and stuff. Yeah, biking in all types of weather.
Yeah.
And people were asking me, of course, about Iceland as well. So during my time while I was working in these corporate environments, I started a podcast called All Things Iceland, 2018. And then we just, kind of from there, things evolved. So that's kind of like the base story of how I got here, and a little bit of like jump into starting my company.
Yeah, and it's AllThingsIceland.com, right?
.com.
And I love your Folklore Fridays.
Oh,
right?
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm very into folklore and things like that. I think it's really cool.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And so you did digital marketing, and then from there, that's kind of where you started. There had to be a turning point in your life or career where you made a decision.
Yes.
So what happened?
Well, I went from working for that travel company, and then I was headhunted for an advertising agency, one of the kind of larger ones here, which was great. Because they were like, we want you to be chief digital strategy officer. And like in my head, I was like, this is amazing. This is the dream, right? This is a dream job. I can't not take this, even though there was a big part of me being like, I really want to see how I can make All Things Iceland grow. I'd been doing it for around almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was starting to hear back from people with the podcast, a little bit with video. But in my head, it was like, that's where I see myself going.
So your head is saying this is success, and your heart's going, I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. And my head was going, where's the money?
Right? Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
We have security, we're getting paid well, we have, a position where we get to impact, like at least bring to fruition like our ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But agency life, at least for me, was not sustainable because I really value doing a great job. And often when you do a great job in a company, they want to give you more work. And I was just like, all right. And so I was just working nonstop. And they're all in Iceland, we try to be about life work balance.
Okay.
But I didn't feel that at all.
Yeah.
Not from my perspective, right? And I think that was self-imposed, to be honest, to a degree of just wanting to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just realized that I have to make a choice. And I feel like I'm being pushed into a dilemma where my body wasn't feeling good anymore because I was spending so much time working, but I also wasn't loving it. I didn't feel invested in it.
So the work-life balance, you're working way too much, and you didn't get it. So I always look at mental and physical currency, right? Plenty of physical currency, but the mental currency wasn't there because you liked what you do, but you didn't necessarily love what you're doing.
Love that, no.
But your head was saying this is success. The money's saying, hey, this is comfort. And your heart's going, oh, this is, and so after a while, it kind of got to be a grind. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And COVID hit for us, meaning like everyone was in 2020, but in March, we were starting to see it a lot. And then in the summertime, we ended up having a really amazing summer without tourists, which was crazy.
Oh.
It's sad to say, but
hiking is great. Yeah. You could do whatever you want.
Or even just like the waterfalls that everybody goes to, there was nobody there. Wow. Incredible, right?
Yeah.
And actually, in January 2020, I'd gone to my boss, was the CEO of the ad agency, and told him that I was quitting because I was going to pursue All Things Iceland, because I'd gotten to that turning point of like, I have to take this leap. I don't know what's on the other side, but I know what's on this side, and I'm not feeling good enough about that.
Got it.
I'd even, this is so funny to me at the time because I meditate now, but back then I was meditating, thinking that meditation helps you to be happier.
Yeah.
Or at least that was what the signals my brain was trying to go for.
Yeah.
But I actually would cry a lot before work when I'd meditate.
Okay.
Because it was bringing up the fact that like this wasn't the right thing for me and I needed to make a shift. So everywhere I was getting these
body
signals.
Was crying.
Yeah. Signals that it was time to change. And the people who were there were great. I just want to say that. There was no one like mean to me or anything.
Yeah. No, it was a great job.
Yeah.
It just wasn't for you at that point in time.
Correct. And so I went to the job and told them that I was quitting, and they were like, what about, I was surprised they came up with another solution. They're like, what about if you work half-time? I was like, well, I hadn't prepared for that. So, okay, I'll do that. Let's just see, because at least I still have some money coming in. But that also still just became too much in my head, right? Like we had COVID, people working from home, blah, blah, blah. And so at the end of that summer, I think it was like August 2020, I officially was done. And funny enough, I went to the West Fjords, which is a very remote part of Iceland, for 3 weeks at an Icelandic course. And when I came out of that, I had found out I won an award for my podcast from my township.
Yes.
That it was like an equal rights award about like showcasing diverse voices on my podcast and their experiences. And I was like, wow, well, this is really helpful, feeling like I'm going in the right direction and like just getting signals that, again, I feel really good about it. I'm really happy. I'm relieved.
Yeah.
And now I can really just focus on how do I grow this thing and make it work.
Okay. So how did you grow this thing and make it work?
Lots of experimentation, lots of...
Did you just dive into it like, oh, I want to do a podcast, and so here's my phone, I'm going to record it like this? Or did you really do a little research and then jump into it? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, when I started the podcast, I've been listening first to Tim Ferriss a lot.
Oh, yeah, I love Tim.
And the motivation of the people on that podcast made me realize that I just need to try things out. So in 2018, when I launched the podcast, it was give yourself a year, see how it goes. And this is before I quit any jobs, and I was getting great feedback. And then I'd done like some videos on YouTube that were doing pretty well. So I realized that I had, and I love doing multifaceted things. I don't want to be the person that is just stuck doing one type of medium or anything, because my brain needs the stimulation.
Sure.
So going out and traveling and capturing some videos or being on an episode or interviewing somebody, all of that keeps me stimulated enough for it to go like, oh, there's nothing stagnant here. I've got, different avenues. And that's in essence why I learned about myself as I was, going off on my own in 2020, that I needed to learn how to juggle this in a way that was reasonable for my life and not overwhelming. I'm not going to say that I've perfected that at all.
No, talk about that. That's the work-life balance that that we talked about prior. Is tell me, it's never you.
No.
Everybody is when I say, hey, do you have work-life balance? Everybody says no.
Yeah, no.
But the question is, how do you manage what you do to try to do what your balance? How do you do that?
Well, first I had to learn that there were certain things I didn't love doing, and that was okay. And it didn't mean that I was less of an enthusiastic entrepreneur or business owner, but that I should delegate those things and figure out how I can delegate them. For instance, editing the podcast. Hated it, right? It was just to me it's time consuming. I don't find any joy in that. So finding a podcast editor saved the podcast because now I'm able to put out more episodes. The guy's really awesome. He's affordable, turns around very quickly. And at some point I also had a video editor. I've just started to get a new one. Sometimes, you got to shift through to find the best one. And that was a big part of it. It was like realizing my zone of genius. Where am I best? What are my best capabilities or ability to express myself? And creating, like coming up with the ideas, going out to film, all that's really fun. I mean, in the future, I'd love to have a videographer that comes with me and looks at all the angles and all those things. But that's okay. At the moment, I'm still enjoying that, so it's not a huge issue. But yeah, editing a lot of things takes a decent amount of time for me being able to have the freedom that I need as a creator to come up with the ideas and then bring those to life. So I started delegating, but of course I had to be making money, right? So putting things on YouTube, getting some AdSense there, but also companies reaching out.
So let's get back to how you balance your work life, and nobody has balance, right? So how do you do that?
Delegating, learning how to delegate.
Got it.
I had to go through the process.
You hire people?
Yes, but first, before getting there, I had to realize that I couldn't do it on my own. Wanting or saying that I am a one-woman business. In the beginning, it sounds so exciting. You're like, I can do everything by myself. And I remember hearing a quote, not a quote, but like it's just someone saying that if your dreams are something that you can achieve by yourself, then you're not dreaming big enough.
Ooh, I like that.
And I was like, oh, well, maybe I need some help because there are things I want to do, but I don't have all the capabilities for it, or I don't have the interest in editing my podcast or whatever. And it's true. I mean, now I put out 2 podcast episodes a week, and I wouldn't be able to do that. And that's just one form of content that I do. That's just audio. I wouldn't be able to do that if I were editing the podcast episodes, which I hate doing, right? I mean, maybe hate's a strong word, but I'm pretty sure I hate it.
Well, it would never get done.
It would never get done. And not to my satisfaction either, right? And then editing videos, like short videos. I do the short videos, but the longer videos for YouTube and whatever else, those are super important that, A, they're done. Because I have a lot of footage that could just sit there and not be used because I don't have the time. And being visible is my form of not only just marketing what I'm selling, but also potential partnerships and sponsorships. And over the years, I've been very fortunate to get those, but using money to then delegate for editing means that I can get out the content from those sponsorships and then get more coming toward me, and better quality, because those people are hopefully well rested in doing their job, and I can give them feedback and I have a clearer idea of it, rather than me being the person critiquing my own editing work, which is harder to do,
Sure.
So
well, and then you have sponsors. The other part was to make money, right? So you delegate so you can turn out more, and then that interests corporations or partnerships who want to maybe come to Iceland or use your service.
Iceland. I work with a lot of Icelandic companies that are looking to get foreign people, visitors, as their customers.
Okay.
And of course, there are companies outside of Iceland that I work with too, but in Iceland, in the tourism business, there are people who are doing ice cave tours, glacier walks, Northern Lights tours, snorkeling. I was snorkeling yesterday in Sofra, which is like between the continents.
Yes.
And that was a partnership that I'd gotten from a company that approached me because they saw my content and thought it was great and wanted to work with me, and we worked out a deal. So it is important that since I'm the face of the brand as well, that I'm getting out this content continuously in a way that fits with my
who you are.
style. Yeah, exactly. And my interest. And also keeping my creative control. That's very important. Any company I've worked with, which has been crucial for me, is that I don't work with anybody that is trying to tell me how to make the content. Like, you've seen my content.
Yeah, yes.
You trust me, right, to do it and to speak to my audience.
Yeah.
And that's important. And I've been very fortunate to have those types of relationships. And if I need to say no to somebody, I have the freedom to do that because I'm my own boss. Nobody else is telling me what to do.
What I think is so cool, there are a number of components within what you just said that a lot of people don't understand is you need to be authentically you.
Yes.
And, if you're out there doing a company that does hiking and caving and everything like that, well, you have to be a part of that because you have to show your love for doing that.
Yeah.
And again, authentically you. And then the third piece I really like is you realize you can't work with everybody.
Right.
Because when you first start a business, you'll almost take anybody, it seems like, and then it takes, time to figure out, well, that really wasn't good, and they used up so much of my time and they hated what I did because they weren't really a good client.
Right. Or we didn't match, right? So the styles of working together or understanding. Some people want a company to tell me, what do you want me to do exactly? Whereas like I already have an idea for myself of how I can bring the content alive to my audience.
Sure.
This is what you're trusting me with when you say I want you to make content on your platforms. I make content also for other companies where you don't see my face at all. You would never even know that I did the content, but I sit down with them and I ask them, what are they looking for? They give me ideas from other companies, whatever, like social media posts, and I go, okay, we can work something out that looks like that, right? That's a part of my business too, because I've been doing, social media strategy and things. But when it comes to my real passion, it's what I'm doing. Yeah. And that's what I focus on the most, even though I do have clients that are, outside of me just creating content that's about what I think is interesting to my audience.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, are you happy?
I am super happy. I love my job. It's great.
So why are you happy?
Well, I love adventures. I love doing lots of interesting things. I love that I get to be out in nature. I get to travel and talk about it. I bring a lot of information about Iceland to people that they would have never assumed, sometimes debunking things. I'm super happy that there's a lot of supportive Icelanders of my work who send me messages and say that they love what I'm doing and my perspective, and that I'm a positive person, so they're happy that, like, even if I have something about Iceland that I don't love, that I'm not trying to trash the country. I'm not trying to trash the country. I'm really showing my appreciation, but also just keeping it real from my perspective, and I think that resonates with people. And then also, I always assumed from the very beginning, and this was a hard one I had to let go of my own mind in terms of a limiting belief, but before I started YouTube, I was really afraid that no one would care about this black girl from New York, from Brooklyn, talking about Iceland. And they'd look at me and be like, you're not an Icelander. Why are you even sharing your opinion? Or like, what are you even doing there? And in the beginning, I did get some people who were like that. Of course. But I have far more support for it. Like, I have over 98% of the people that watch my content are super positive and really just interested in seeing my journey or learning from me about things. And I also do my best to never partner with anybody that I don't believe that they would give you a good experience. So this is another, like, in terms of integrity, and people trust me, and I really value that, and I want people to have great adventures and time. I'm very fortunate too that I do consultations about Iceland, so people can book me for an hour to talk about their trip, and that's so much fun. Finally getting faces to the supporters who might be listening to the podcast or video, and I would never ordinarily see them, but for them this is like a huge trip for them. There's a lot of money that you can spend here. And so getting the right information, knowing exactly how to spend their time efficiently, hidden gyms, restaurants, food type of lifestyles that they're not sure if maybe there's gluten-free or vegan or keto, all of that, right? And so being a person as a local that lives here and coming from an American perspective too, I think is a very unique, and then being a woman of color, like being a black woman, that has also put me in these interesting categories that I had never imagined would resonate with a wider group. So I'm really grateful, honestly, and every day I just think about like how cool it is that I get to do this.
So how did you break through the fear?
Well, again, the alternative
So,
was...
well,
Yeah.
there's so many. If you think about it, the difference between, not having success and being success is doing it.
Right, yeah.
But then being very successful is continuing to do it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, but, I know lots of people who get all the way up to the starting line and never cross the starting line.
Yeah.
So give me just your psychology, because you said, who wants to listen to, yet you did it anyway. What was that piece that flipped the script?
I started to realize that there was a piece of me that was saying something to protect me or wanting to protect me, like this seemingly negative voice, but it wasn't the reality, because I didn't know what the reality was. I was projecting a reality that I thought would be the case.
Yeah.
But how would I know unless I actually tried it? And so I just kept talking to myself, and if I heard, why me, then I'd say, why not me? Right? Just flip it around. Just
absolutely.
Why
flip
not?
the script.
Yeah, and I even wrote it down on a piece of paper. I was like, why not me? And so when I'd see it, I'd be like, yeah, exactly. Why not me? And I'm going to try it, and I'm going to see what happens. The worst case scenario is that people don't watch.
Yeah.
Then nothing happened because they weren't watching before, right? So, in fact, I would say the more scary thing at times is when they do watch, and a lot of people watch.
Yeah.
And then it blows up. I had videos that have gone to 500,000, and for some people that's fine. For other people that's whoa. And for me it was whoa. The first time that I had a viral video and I ended up getting somebody. Okay.
That's Margaret.
Oh, okay.
She's our next guest.
Alsta.
Oh, she did, yes.
Hey, we're shooting a podcast.
Oh, no, that's a next door neighbor, sorry.
Crazy. What are you doing?
We went to dinner with her a couple
Okay.
nights ago.
Okay, nice.
So, she and her husband.
See, I'll text you. I'll text you.
You okay?
Oh, this is so much fun.
That was amazing.
Hello?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, how's
Ashton.
it going? How was whale watching?
So much fun.
Yeah. I don't remember what I was talking about.
No, we were talking about flipping the script
Yeah. Oh, when a lot of people watch.
when a lot of people watch, yes.
That was scarier than I imagined. And I had a video, I can't remember what the video was about, because a couple of videos have done this. And I ended up growing on YouTube by 10,000 subscribers in one night. I was freaked out. I was like, oh my God, no, everybody, in my head, I was now everybody's watching. And how do I keep this up? What do I do next? What's the thing? I was I remember I was in bed restless. And over a course of a week, I think I grew by 20,000 subscribers. It was just, for me, huge. I'd gone from a couple thousand to 22 or 25,000 in 7 days. And I loved it and simultaneously feared for my life. And that, what have I done?
Yeah.
Everyone tells you, you just don't blow up overnight and blah, blah. And of course, it's not a blow up in the sense of, 1 million subscribers, but it's still a huge amount.
It took you a long time to blow up.
Yeah.
It's like having a 10-year, your overnight success, but you've been in the business 10 years.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Exactly.
You put in the work, and it just happens to happen
Right.
like that.
And there are and that experience helped me a lot. Because over time, when on TikTok, for instance, I've had videos that blow up, and my reaction to it was now much more subdued. So I was like, oh, great, this video is doing great. Oh, how great is it? Nice, I love that. We're just, my reaction to it is so different than it used to be, which was, holy crap, I want to go crawl into a hole, because now I feel like I'm on the line for repeating this performance.
Oh, got
and
it.
This idea of, you start to compare yourself, because as a creator, it's so easy to be like, this content did well. What about it did well?
What did I do
How do I repeat this?
Yeah.
Blah, blah. And I was like, then I've gotten out of that mode again by watching a lot of other different people, to be honest, hearing about other creators' experiences and realizing that it's okay if every video doesn't do that, right? And it's okay to also do the ones that I'm really excited about, and I'm not trying to create it to go viral, but I'm literally just trying to bring value to my audience.
Yes.
Because I've had videos that have done a few thousand views, and yet those videos have made me money from the commission of the sponsored post that it was about, right? It hit the people I needed
the
it
right
to
people,
see.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need a huge following, you just need the right following.
So this is, again, I think another psychological aspect of creation and being on social media. There are people who have millions of followers and they can't make a living off of what they do, right? Because they're strategically not placed for that. Maybe they're funny dance videos, but where's a tie-in, right, for a sponsorship or something. And so comparison culture is so wide, and it's so much that as a creator you easily get stuck in this if you allow yourself. And I've just removed myself from that to be like, I'm still getting amazing opportunities. There could be people who are larger than me, and sometimes we're getting the same opportunities. It's incredible, and I'm just like, great. What I'm doing is working. I love it, and I don't feel like I am stressed out of my mind. I don't feel like I wake up every day being like, why did I choose this? Every day I'm like, I know why I chose this. I feel so good. I'm so happy. And I'm doing it the way that works best for me. Yeah. Are there ever uncomfortable moments? Yes. Absolutely. I've been almost stuck in the mud in a camper van in East Iceland in the middle of nowhere, and I was freaked out. But I made it out, thankfully. Yeah. Backing out for over a kilometer in a very narrow road. So I've had adventures. I've had stuff like, break on my whole website went down once, and I hadn't backed it up. And I had to,
that's not good.
I've had moments where I was
that's that sinking feeling.
Yep, that was dumb. Should have thought about that before, right? And that's all right.
It's a learning experience.
Exactly. I was able to recover, and I think that's the thing is, someone told me recently, like, trusting, we feel often scared about trusting in things or people, and it usually comes back to you not trusting that you're going to survive the situation. And if you know that, like, you can survive this.
Your ability to pivot.
Yeah.
And to really...
And resilience.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a big part, at least a learning part for me.
I agree, 100%. Well, it's hard. You don't know.
Yeah.
And, but you're much more likely, it's like, if you look at all the different things, it's like, well, I got out of that. I was okay. Oh, that was horrible, but I got out of it. It also helps you with the future because that if it doesn't go right, you'll get out of it. Yeah.
And the worst thing is that I have to do something else. That's life. Like I'm not, I love what I do and I'm very happy with it. I'm happy about where I want to take it.
Yes.
But I'm not also, All Things Iceland is not jewels in the sense that that's my whole life. Right?
Yeah, like it's not your identity.
That's not my identity. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's my life, but at the moment, at least career life. But it isn't my identity. Like there are other aspects and interests that I have, and I'm very happy to help cultivate that as well.
So, if there's one thing you want to share with the audience, what would it be?
If you're considering doing something, try it. I learned a long time ago that myself, I'll just speak very personal experience. I was searching for my passion. And I kept thinking, when is it going to fall out of the sky and hit me, right? The thing that I know I want to do. Yeah. And it never did, because that's not how it works. I was reading books and, taking tests and all of this stuff. And I don't remember what Tim Ferriss podcast it was, but I just remember hearing that you have to go out and try things and see what you feel good about. And podcasting for me was the one I just decided, and I felt really good, and I was surprised about, the feedback, but I also put a lot of effort into it. It wasn't just like I sat on my kitchen table and allowed for myself to sound like a tin can or something. I built a little, covering over my closet with, big blankets so I could have better sound. I tested out different things. Because I also was not going to launch sounding like a complete amateur. I just refused. So I think having your own standard for what you want to create, but also putting it out there. It's never going to be perfect, so that's okay.
True, absolutely.
Having a standard is one thing. Trying to hold yourself to an unrealistic level. Yes. Everyone sucks in the beginning.
Yes.
That's fine too.
I agree 100%.
And you're going to look back at what you felt sucks. Somebody else is going to think it's brilliant or amazing, and you're going to be like, oh, I can hear it. That wasn't right, whatever. It's like, but you did it, and you learned, and you kept going.
It's practice.
And like practice. You said, successful people do the action. Yeah. They're not fantasizing about it. It's just a dream until you actually take steps and do something.
I agree.
And I'm 100% on board on people just trying.
I agree. You have to. So much fun. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been a pleasure. And thank you, Jules.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.